Do it. Just do it. Thank you.
Do it now.
You know what? I
Okay.
probably don't need all this blank space. Holy shit.
I think we're live.
I loaded all those hours, and really the eruption's only the last, God, what, from 1500 onward? Okay, we're gonna fix this. 30.
Okay. I think we're
We'll
live.
start at 1400.
I kind of started
Ah!
another broadcast, and I was like, wait.
My voice just came on.
Oh yeah, so I guess it's live then.
Yep, indeed.
Well, hi. Hi everybody. This is how I start everything. Very nonchalantly. Yeah.
Shut up, Justin.
It's late because that guy in the corner here, he had to work. I like how I can point. I can point down. He's right here. There.
Oh, he meant late stream, like late in time, not
Yeah.
late as in past due.
And yeah,
Okay,
not as
sorry. I
fast.
take that shut up back.
Yeah, somebody had to work, so we decided we wanted Christian here, so we pushed the time back a little bit.
I told them I wasn't needed here, but they
You're
didn't take
always
it.
That's not
needed.
true.
You're always needed. So shush. But we're here. We're going to talk about things. Fun things. We're going to talk about hype from last week. And then we're going to talk about a current CME that's pretty much over.
It wasn't even
it's,
hyped up.
I mean, it's not over, but it's over for us Aurora Chasers.
Unfortunately.
So that's the gist of it. That's my intro. My horrible intro today, but it's okay.
All right.
The unplugged intro.
Yeah,
I can probably share the slide deck.
Yeah, do we
Go
want to
ahead.
do the slides first, or do we want to do Helio Viewer first?
Yeah, let's do slides.
Well,
I need some time to load.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Slides are
kind of
first.
combined. That's kind of combined anyway.
That
So
too.
by the time J Helio loads, we're probably going to be at the point of slides where we should share them.
I have all the frames ready from the earliest eruption.
Okay, so
Rock
this
on.
is actually the earliest eruption, because that happened on August 30th. That's the CME we had earlier this week. That's the Labor Day storm that didn't happen for us. But it was active region that nobody expected to really fire or do anything
Right.
exciting. It was eruptive, meaning it produced a CME. It was long duration because it produced CME by the time we knew it was a long duration. The CME was long gone. The flare was still burning. So I'm going to stop sharing at this point. And Christian, if you want to cover that eruption, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, it was
Boom.
like Tanya would say, it was funny because everybody was watching the region below it, and then
Mm-hmm.
and then the
Well,
little
yeah,
guy
I mean,
above was
so
like,
looking at the
yeah,
chromosphere, this looks way more interesting than what's going on
it
up
was
here,
way
but
more interesting.
those flares were impulsive and did very little to anything really. Yeah, this is at least 304. I actually don't have any other frames because I'll be honest, it's pretty boring in everything except for 304. The chromosphere got most of the action in this one, and it really, I mean, it's neat looking, but you wouldn't even think something like would come from it.
It was just a slow burner, and then
Like a
gave us
running differential, there's almost no sign except for a little breaking up there. So differentials didn't help. Basically, it was kind of like a meh visual moment. But this was the flare, at least.
look at that. Look at it slow.
I know, it's cool. I could probably load eventually. Yeah, that's all right. I'll take too much time. So that's that one.
But
Yep.
that's the one that
So
gave us the full Halo CME, and then
it,
like the
Oh,
title of
let's
the
go. That'd be good to have open.
yeah the title of the slideshow. It's like CMEs are
I
back.
have, yeah, I have it. So I
Yeah.
have at least one frame from last go. So it was asymmetric CME, had a little bit of southeast bias, but just a little bit. Overall, pretty good coverage, pretty good spread. So, and it came from central locations, so we knew that was coming for us. Um, Speed, different modeling agencies, different space weather agencies kind of clocked it at slightly different speed. It did affect modeling to some degree, but ultimately not that much. And it was clearly Earth directed. Could it have missed? Sometimes Halo CMEs do miss if they get deflected somewhere en route. This one did not. We know that. But what started afterward was very interesting. So this is the timing of arrival, and it was a rush to really model it because it was fast and it was coming pretty quickly, so that was important. And who won this game?
Who did?
Swipsy.
Yeah, I thought it was Swipsy.
But everybody modeled it to arrive fairly
Yeah,
close. It
that's
was clear as
pretty
September
close.
1st. Yeah, from anywhere from 1921 to 21 to 22 in Bureau of Meteorology in Australia. So it was a win for the entire modeling team. And what did people do? Of course, once I think up to G4, watches were posted. G4 was courtesy of Met Office. They thought that the CME was capable of doing something interesting, at least periods of G4. It generated a lot of hype in social media and even I don't know who, but I think Forbes was
Oh yeah,
on the roll.
they were definitely
And
on it. I mean, they are
yeah.
the quintessential space weather agency.
Yeah, space Forbes Space Weather Prediction Center, as usual. But it's really hard to sit and watch and basically do nothing. So of course people gonna start looking at signs of early arrival, and it was a bit problematic. So EPAM did rise, and it obviously there was shock from that flare. However, we're still in complete recovery from previous S1 event, which was very long duration and generated by the far-sighted CME. So can't even see that CME, can't even see the flare. We're still getting particles from it. Very limited utility, unfortunately, for CME arrival up until you start to see very, very sharp rise in EPAM. And by the time, there's really not much you can do. You know it's coming pretty quickly, but you still don't know whether or not it's going to be a couple of hours, another hour. It's coming. This one, again, was a direct hit from the get-go. So even if that would have been deflected, it would have generated plenty of particles in EPAM. And a lot of people posted, yes, it's coming. EPAM is on the rise. It's going to come. It's going to come. Well, we knew. We knew it was coming. So EPAM was not helpful from that perspective. And this is the full view. So the flare, I think, happened somewhere here, and we started to see a fairly steady rise. There was another short
Hmm.
event over here. That was another flare that shocked the particles and that kind of messed up the EPAM a little bit. But this is when you start to see that, yep, arrival is imminent when it's going fast and rising very rapidly. And unfortunately, by the time you're seeing that, CME is literally knocking on the door. So
It
it's
was.
not going to help that much. But we started at a very, very high level from previous S1. So normally it starts, well, somewhere over here. We were still riding fairly high.
I mean, I'll add to. I think it was. I forget who it was, but somebody on Twitter was like posted that screenshot. It was like, "Oh yeah, I expect to see me to be here within the next couple hours," and it was literally 10 minutes later.
Yep. So you
That was
just you
Harlan.
just can't tell. And when you see that rise, that very, very sharp rise, that's actually energetic storm particles. So it's ESP. They're very high energy. There are lots of them, and this is shock. um, the shock itself arriving, the kind of the sort of the core of the shock. Once that arrives, it starts to drop and it will go down once the core is here. But this is where it got tricky because it's not just the core of the CME itself, it could be any flux rope that's embedded in the sheath. And we had those. That was a lot
Yeah.
of fun too. So this is the CME that turned into I think it still generated G2. So
Yeah,
it
it
just still
did.
generated some decent storming because guess what? We had a little bit of the negative BZ, so magnetosphere wasn't exactly running cold by the time that CME arrived. And the shock was decent. The speed jumped quite significantly to over 600. There was a density rise. There was definitely a BT rise. And then they generated some decent aurora for Europe.
Yeah.
By the time it came to North America, BZ turned and went north. BT
Surprise,
was still
surprise.
fairly high, so there was definitely transfer of energy into magnetosphere. There was diffuse aurora pretty much all night, But this thing one and thing two, they're probably embedded flux ropes. Whether or not it's from one CME or from two separate CMEs that kind of got trapped in this one huge sheath, we'll never find out. But there is something there. It's really hard to get that persistent and consistent of a BZ pattern out of anything else but sort of the magnetic flux rope. So something was more organized when we typically see in the sheath. And it's possible. Sometimes they appear, they're typically distorted. So solar wind is definitely more structured than we typically think. But nonetheless, those things could be very geoeffective. As you can imagine, if this was BZ South, it would have been a very nice show for North America.
Yeah, we could have had some
Nope.
G3 activity easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that, yeah, absolutely. With that BT, with that total strength of magnetic field pushing 20, if you dump it all into a negative BZ, yeah, you got G3 very easily.
Yeah, it was
But-
definitely there. Well, it could have
but-
been.
We had very nice diffuse aurora with a few substorms, tiny ones
Yeah,
here
some-
and there.
Some of those substorms, like I know it hit down to. I know some people saw it in Pennsylvania and Indiana.
I
So-
did
That
see
was-
2 or 3
Yeah.
from one of the admins in the Ohio group
Yeah.
also had one of the
That-
substorms on like that much of a horizon.
Right, it wasn't.
Yep. That was
And a few
actually
pink rays.
fairly early
Yeah, it was.
at night, just as it was like very, very close to sunset. So people caught a few rays, and that was that was very impressive. And then it just
Yeah, just.
dissipated. But then actual CME core arrived, and that was really weird too. So we initially saw that BZ is heading even further into Northern Territory, and then it decided to turn the other direction. So let's take a look at the core a little closer.
Yep, there it is.
So this is all
Quite the strange one.
strange. Yeah, really strange. This is all CME core. How do we know? Well, here we go to the
Temp drop in
temperature.
order, almost 2 orders of magnitude.
Yep,
Always gonna be your
and
main sign.
this is way too smooth and not really varying a whole lot. But it really is kind of kinky and very distorted, and it has very strange. There's this. I mean, temperature is sort of varying a little bit. There is weird bump in density over here. There is something going on, so it's not exactly stable and steady structure. So what happened? Who wants to
have
take a
theories.
guess on this? Yeah, we do.
Sorry, I'm reading the chat. Yeah. Like Ray was saying, he got it at 42nd parallel. Yeah, because it did. Those substorms did push down pretty good, but they were short.
So this is the entire CME pass,
Mhm.
and we'll come back to the whole thing, what happened with the flux rope in this one. But arrival was fairly well predicted. BT definitely had enough strength for G3 storming. It just wasn't meant to be. And again, those forecasts are not for aurora chasers. They're for industry. So industry appreciated an early warning, and sounds like Swipsy was communicating with them. And Swipsy actually did an amazing job communicating throughout this event on their
I was impressed.
social media and on their official webpage. They were posting updates. When they saw that BT is increasing in this flux rope, they anticipated that, yeah, turning southward may be risky and still may result in fairly significant storming. So instead of calling things off and saying, yep, nothing's going to happen, we're good to go, they did mention that, hey, more storming is possible, which is a fair warning. Again, not for us, for industry. We have to watch the data and kind of figure out what Aurora is doing all by ourselves. But nonetheless, BZ was still variable throughout this, and it was complex magnetic structure. So instead of very nice transition from north to south, we ended up with twists and turns. Any theories as far as what happened?
I forgot. something got compressed and bent.
Yeah, exactly. But this is what we saw in terms of substorming. So in the beginning, of course, it was very nice substorm from the shock by itself. Then there was enough of the negative BZ to push to substorm, and then
There's the good one.
pretty impressive stuff when BZ finally turned
Yeah.
south, I'm sorry, and produced very good storming levels.
That was our
Um,
daytime, though, right? Yeah, if I
it
remember.
was.
Yeah.
So Russia got a good
Yeah,
show,
Hmm.
Europe got a good show, Europe got
mid-afternoon
two
at best.
rounds. So that was very disappointing for us. Good for Europe. Very happy
Par
for
for the
those guys.
course.
Yeah, as usual. So 2025. But
There's the
this is,
worm.
yeah. So we usually think about flux ropes as sort of their tubes with plasma that's kind of circulating along magnetic field lines. Well, they're still very chaotic. They're organized, but they're far from perfect. So they're not a tube. They could be very twisted, very kinked structure. Magnetic field lines are fairly flexible. So, yep, it could look like misshapen croissant. So we could easily pass through a part of it where magnetic field is going through all sorts of kinks and twists. And that can happen when CMEs are launched very fast and they basically kind of gain on themselves and fold and twist and do some weird things. So the big lesson from this is when you start to see a flux rope and when you think that you can predict its structure, unfortunately you have to monitor because it can twist on you and it can turn in a way that you can't predict. So when it's arriving, watch what plasma is doing, watch what the field is doing, and
Space leech.
be ready to basically move to your location and wait or potentially um, back home, but that's never certainty. So when the structure is moving through, be prepared for surprises. If it's nice and clean rotation and very predictable, great. That's awesome. But it may not be the case.
Yeah, like in
We're
this.
giving this a new name, just so you know.
I,
Space Leech.
I know I was laughing too. It's space leech.
It's perfect.
Twisty little thing.
Disturbingly perfect, in fact.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it just goes to show you, like, you just keep learning more and more all the time as we dig deeper in this. Because, like, remember when we would, like, try to predict the flux rope using
Yeah, those were
those,
fun days.
yeah, those fun days, and then you get stuff like this. We're like, oh yeah, by the way, it could just get distorted on the way here, and then your
By the way,
prediction doesn't
anything can
matter.
happen.
So,
You want the universe to be organized? Nah.
so we just have to watch it in real time, which is kind
Yeah.
of annoying, but it is what it is. Which is why we like to do forensics instead of forecasting.
But yeah, the forensics are way more fun. We at least have
Hmm.
then the full picture of what's going on.
And you
So what we
learn
really
stuff
need
from
is
it.
the ability to see into the future in the present.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
I'll
That'd
stop
be
now.
nice. That would be very nice.
Anyway,
All right.
space leech.
Yep. All right. Space
Thanks,
War.
Ray.
And we're going to current events. So this is where Jay Helio would be amazingly helpful.
Yeah.
But that was, again, do not underestimate flares because even C-class flares can launch something. Maybe not by themselves, but they can potentially disturb the filament that's nearby, or in some cases, they actually do launch a decent CME. So let me stop sharing. And this one was very interesting.
Yeah, it was a weird one. It was very quiet.
All right. I think I still have it placed at the end. What time frame was that again? 3094?
Yeah, you'll see it. It's pretty obvious when
Oh,
you
that,
find it.
yeah, there it
Hmm.
is. Okay.
It's like the.
I'll let it run. And nope.
Oh, what?
Oh, whoops. I messed the time frame up.
Oh,
There we
there it
go.
is. I saw it.
Take two. Boom.
It's
Literal explosion.
it's neat because you can actually see the deflection going on. That's
And
the
this
cool
is
part of it.
Chromosphere and Corona.
Boof.
Let's make it more interesting, Corona. There we go.
There.
Had a filament, no more
Watch it
filament.
go sideways.
It's a reverse sigmoid too.
So, what Steve's asking, what causes the kinks, and I think what was it? Well, catching up to itself, other
The
Well, the
kinks in
structures.
the flux rope.
eruptions
Yeah. Huh?
The eruptions are
Yeah.
very turbulent, so it's never perfect. They're modeled as sort of a very nice front that's moving through. So when you see it in modeling, and I have the next slide up, that rarely happens. Part of the flux rope can be
Go ahead.
launching with a very different speed, and it may sort of fold on itself. The other part could be traveling slower, so they can do some really
Kind of like
strange stuff.
bigger Kelvin Helmholtz waves.
That's a fancy word.
Essentially, you have a velocity gradient between different altitudes. So some of the material gets pushed faster than the other material, and it ends up pushing out of the way and making waves.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, it is kind of neat. A lot of this stuff can be correlated to Earth weather phenomena,
Yeah,
even though it's
I'm
kind of
thankful we
different,
don't
but
live
yeah.
in a plasma specifically.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. All right. Go back
All
to your
right,
Helio viewer.
back.
And back.
Back to, yeah. So in models, we see it as sort of one uniform front that's moving through. In reality, it's very turbulent and it doesn't look anything like that. Those structures, again, are huge. So trying to imagine what they look like in space requires quite a few spacecrafts, and there are publications on what that flux rope looked like when it was passing through several spacecrafts when they were in the right position. And reconstructing the kinks and folds is very interesting because in different spots it sort of looks nothing alike. That's why the idea of, yep, that could be a very twisted structure, and you think that you know what will hit you, and when it finally arrives, it looks like nothing you expect. That's pretty much normal. That's par for the course. But this is our CME that launched on September 4th, and it was modeled by quite a few agencies. M2M predicted arrival September 6th. Met Office said the same thing a little bit later. SWIPSy kind of placed it into September 7th for
Mm-hmm.
arrival. And I think the CMB managed to beat all expectations, but the arrival itself was fairly close to what M2M predicted because it came, yep, around close to 1400.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was coming in the middle of high-speed stream, so fast solar wind. And it created a picture that was not that easy to read.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go over the plot. We see kind of increased magnetic field. It's pretty stable actually. It's rising maybe just a little bit, kind of in the middle here, but really hard to call. There's decreasing density and there is increasing speed of the solar wind. So all are kind of the hallmarks of co-rotating interacting region. That coronal hole has been around, what, 15 spins? 15 Carrington
That's a
rotations. So it
long
is a
time.
survivor. Yeah, you could probably do like entire calendar for 2024, 2025 with that coronal hole for every month. But that's what we had. And then around 1400, we see a rise in magnetic field strength. We see further increase in density, although it's a little subtle. There is definitely a jump in speed, and there is further rise in temperature. Again, very, very subtle.
It is, yeah.
So, what could it be? Do we know for sure this is a CME when it's just arriving? No,
In
because
fact, we didn't.
again,
Yeah.
in fact, we did not, because this is a fairly weirdly shaped coronal hole. So sometimes you see step up increases in speed, and you can see increases in magnetic field strength. You can see changes in density as one region sort of gains on another and pushes solar wind speed up. So what do you do in those situations where you just can't tell what's hitting you?
You wait it out.
Not necessarily. So plasma is plasma, regardless of what is coming. You see what BZ is doing, and if it's favorable and sort of enough to push things for your location, hey, you might get aurora out of it. Do you care if it's changes because of the coronal hole or CME? No. It's still going to disturb the magnetosphere. It's still going to generate aurora. So if you see this increase and you know something fun is coming, go catch something. Do not wait for it to declare itself because, again, plasma is plasma. If it's enhanced, it's going to do something. You can figure out later, once you have several hours, you can finally see the full picture. And it turned out to be a CME
Yeah, look,
because we
it
start
smooth
to
right out.
see. Go ahead, Mary Beth.
No, I was gonna say you can see how it just smooths right out.
Right there. And there's a drop of several hours, which we didn't like very much in
Yeah.
ACE data. But it's very smooth. It's not changing. There's also drop in temperature. Speed is kind of evening out. Density is going down, which is all typical for CME flex rope.
And she didn't include
So,
it, but there is a constant eastern field in this as well. So
Yeah, 'cause-
BY was positive the whole time.
What was this? A north? What do we say it was a?
SEN.
Yeah, south. Yeah, southeast north.
so started here in the south and moved north. I can probably pull the real-time ACE data. We can go over that too.
Decent radial component with it too, which I'm assuming is, in this case, it looks like it's being taken out of the BZ field because there typically should have been a bit more of a BZ field for a while, in the negatives at least. It
So
went to
let's
positive
actually,
pretty quick.
yeah, let's actually go to the live data. I think that's going to be more telling. Christian, since I've been talking most of this and this
I
is
gotcha.
turning out to be, I don't want to do all the talking.
I gotcha. So we'll jump. Well, let me at least get the. Which thankfully I have it on.
Yeah, bring it up because Marco was saying east northwest.
We're gonna do just this part. I don't know why it's so crunched together. I don't really like how
Yeah,
that's
that's kinda
shaped, but
Weird.
ew, what's going on?
Like it's like super thick or hard to read.
Oh, I tried to zoom in. I guess that was probably my fault, but why is it like that? Ew. Well, it kind of backfired. So let's try the whole thing.
Yay!
There we go. We'll get rid of BT.
Why is it smushed?
I'm not really sure what Chrome is doing here. Ugh.
Yeah, you can probably just focus on the magnetic field.
Point is, yeah, let's just look through. The only problem with the mag is it separates the components, so it makes it harder to see usually the stretch. So we got, yeah, BZ starting in negatives around here. That's where we start seeing the smoothness of it. BY starts off as literally basically the whole field. And then it continues to stretch as BZ goes into positives. So I would say southeast north makes more sense because east northwest we never actually saw a negative component at all to the eastern field. Now that could be because of how it came in. It's very possible not. But if we're looking just on the layout itself, and on that note, BX as well, the blue line here, fairly constant in the negatives. It had a very strong component with BT being 14 nanotesla. BX was sitting around 11, minus 11 still. That's a good 75-ish% of the entire magnitude of the IMF sitting in a radial direction. So it's clear it had either heavy influence under the coronal hole or it was just a messed up field because it was a glancing blow so much. Hard to say which one's which. But from what I would be able to tell, I would say SEM would be the more stable, or at least the more reasonable option. Is it possible that it might have gone into a Western field? Yes, but I think we would have likely seen BZ in a more consistent direction as well, if that's the case. And BZ did seem to rotate, even though it seems weird that my screen is not. Let's try this. And go to the actual products and data from there. Except I always forget which one they run it
The
under.
real-time
But the point
feedback.
is, oh, there we go. Yeah, it looks a lot better. Huh, must have just been that page. Weird. Now it's all in one area. But yeah, so we have BZ creeping up again, starting about here, where we have a full. Now, to be fair, we do have a full eastern field here, but we also have again a heavy radial component. So we don't know if that radial component's taking away necessarily from the Z component or from the Y component in this case. It could be either. So I will say yes, there's definitely a possibility it could have been something like an east northwest because there was hardly any negative BZ at the beginning. But I'm assuming because it was pushed up and kinked that SEN makes a little more sense because of the strong eastern field throughout the whole duration of the CME core rather than it being kind of iffy. So that is my take on it, at least.
I guess so. He's saying, wait it out and see. Because yeah, I mean
Yeah.
we're still in it, so
Yeah, I mean, we're still in very clean and consistent solar winds, so it's clear that it's still the core here. Let's go ahead and pop up the solar wind data again since I'm not crushed anymore, it looks like. No, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, and it's never wrong answer to wait and see what develops because again, this usually is a big structure, so things may change over its path. Ultimately, it looks for us that BZ is not favorable for North America again.
No, oh yeah, we're no Aurora tonight. Sorry, guys, that's just not happening. The BT is crashing pretty quickly as well. Looks like
Yep,
losing about a nanotesla every hour or two. It'll be back
yep.
down to pre 10 nanotesla area in the next couple of hours.
So it may push something for, I would say, Canada.
Now,
We
I'm still
might
saying
see some glow out of it, but
I think
no.
this is a primarily coronal hole as of I mean it's still obviously the core, but it really does the field looks primarily like it's the coronal hole. It's a little more constant and steady than I would normally expect from it, but it is purely radial at this point as far as the direction of the magnetic field.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's my take.
All right. So I think I have one more slide. That's sort of the take home from this entire mess. But this is just a conclusion as far as, again, we're going to see more of those events because we are definitely in a descending phase of solar cycles. So coronal holes are our workhorse for Aurora, and CMEs will happen. We're very clearly in the surge, meaning there is increase in activity. We're going to see more CMEs during this time, so fall might be very interesting. Um, Next surge, who knows how active it's going to be, but enjoy what you can. But because again, coronal holes are a part of the picture, they kind of impact on what CMEs are doing. So deflection, rotation, where it's twisting, so it's arriving like you won't expect, and definitely flux rope deformation. So it may be very centrally located region and very centrally located eruption. You can't really get any more central than this, but it is arriving at us as essentially glancing blow.
pretty crazy.
So yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Um, Estimating a time of arrival for CME gets to be challenging when there is a coronal hole. It may be early because it's hitching a ride on high-speed stream. It may be later because it got deflected and sort of held up in space traffic. And we could see higher BT than possible. So be careful when you see long-range geomagnetic forecasts, and that applies to both Glendale and Swipsea. Just be aware that yes, there is a coronal hole, but sometimes those things get contaminated by CMEs, so they're going to push KP higher. You shouldn't use KP in the first place, but if you want to plan kind of travel to more northern or southern area, depending where you're at, to see something from a coronal hole, be careful. It may not be as great as you expect. It could be bigger because, again, once the surge is over, we start to see coronal holes increase in size again, particularly if they're very close to hot longitudes, meaning that's the place where the active regions are emerging. So it gets tricky to predict. And usually we know, I would say 7 to 10 days ahead of time whether or not Coronal Hole is going to do something interesting. But again, when we are in surge, meaning there are more CMEs, there are more active regions, more sunspots, beware that Coronal Hole may very well close by the time or before it reaches the center of the disk. So it may not generate any faster wind at all. And finally, it's going to be, those events will be incredibly complex at times where you can't tell heads and tails. And waiting it out, if BC is favorable and if you want to go chase, absolutely go for it. But try not to over predict and overthink it because you might be wrong. So that's the take home.
Yes, I agree.
But it's fun. It's fun to do forensics. Like I'm stuck in at my latitude and I have clear sky and I have absolutely nothing for it. I'm gonna I'm gonna enjoy this full moon.
I like their conversation in the chat.
I mean, it's fun in this case, and obviously
Yeah.
a little more time will be a little more definitive, since we've got not necessarily a clear answer as to which orientation. And of course, the universe doesn't give a crap about what we call the orientation of it. It's just going to do its thing. But yeah, it would be interesting to see either way. Did this radio component take away from a negative BZ? Or would, I mean, the field did start pretty much all eastern, so would a east-northwest be more reasonable in this case? I could see either being honestly the case, which again, it's not like we'll get an answer, but
No. It is what it is. And it's good to study clean cases where we know exactly what's going on. So definitely starting with a flux rope that's neatly oriented in one direction or another, but keep in mind that in reality that doesn't work like that all the time. So it will get complicated, it will get messy, and that's normal. That's life. Science likes clean cases. We rarely get them.
Yeah, that's true. We really don't. Yeah, so. Fun times with nature. That's all I gotta say.
Well, Sam clearly didn't study heliophysics. Well, I can say.
It's fun. It's fun. But I think that's what we got here. But yeah, we lose either way. True. True story.
Yeah. Well, you know,
you know,
it's
that's why we have to figure out the orientation, because right now it's all we got.
Yeah, that's all we got. That's all we have to talk about right now is this. Because, yeah. That
This
That's
is
our
well,
right, an aurora
entertainment.
photo. If I had one.
we didn't even talk about that this is full moon for us, too. But
Oh yeah, and it's a full moon. Yeah, forget it.
but for everybody in the the high northern latitudes, it doesn't matter too much. But
Oh, they will get something out of
yeah,
it.
but for us, it's a moot point.
Yeah.
So we just data chase. That's the pastime.
I mean, that's literally what I did all of cycle 24. There was no
Yeah.
actual chases except once before I understood that KP did me crap.
Yeah, that.
But beyond that, yeah, cycle 24 every single day was a data chase, every event. So it's nice that I actually have some actual chases this cycle.
I know.
Yeah,
it's
but no.
we've had some
Yeah, but
decent. At least we've had some decent stuff with this cycle.
Mhm.
Cycle 24 really didn't have anything. I mean, well, it had some interesting stuff. Like it had that one big giant flare in CME, but it was not directed towards us. So it was like, but it was huge, I guess.
Just to answer Janelle's
Yeah.
question as well, this is the sunspot look for currents, the sun. Decent amount of sunspots compared to normal, I would say, but they're all still simple. I don't see anything physically, at least in white light, that looks interesting or even slightly fun. Corona, it doesn't look like anything's coming around that looks very potent as well on the east side.
I haven't
So
looked
I'm
at
going to
the
say probably not, just
backside.
Corona holes.
Because that angry one isn't. That's gonna take another couple weeks till we see it again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, do you have solar orbiter? You should.
Oh yeah, in Helio Viewer.
Yeah, it's there. We can peek on the far side.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's try 304 might look pretty good. Oh, nope, not till, well, it got 829.
Ooh.
So let's try that.
That's like
Oh, that's actually the earliest time I have. It might not work then.
that's quite a
Oh.
I'll keep fiddling with it for a second at least, but
yeah.
let's go
But
backwards.
it's far side and things definitely change.
They do. They do.
So you might want to look in September.
No, there's no data before.
Oh. Oh
Basically,
yeah.
whatever your beginning date is here, it'll say there's no data before that date, but I keep
Well,
changing it and there's still no
let
data.
let me try.
It just might not be connected to JHealy Viewer. I don't know if I've ever been able to pull up any of the solar orbiter data here.
So I'll let Tanya do that.
Does that work on all 4 channels? Let me know if you get anything up, Tanya. I'll just stop sharing.
I'll try.
What if we try? Sec.
Yeah, I guess instead of typing, I was like, yeah, it is kind of
Nope.
unfortunate.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is, yeah, I got something.
Alright.
This is from there we go. So this is from September 5th.
Okay.
And it's definitely
Yeah, it looks pretty
inclined, so
boring
it's
still.
kind of, yeah, it kind of looks at the sun a slightly different way. Let me see if I can pull up the magnetogram. Probably can. Yeah, there we go. That's the.
What coordinates is this in?
Oh, that is a good question. Because I mean, if this is where a solar orbiter is.
Oh, it's still Earth coordinates. So there's the literal far side at the 180, and then we got the 270 as the eastern limb. Okay, cool. That's well labeled.
So yeah, nothing too exciting.
Still nothing.
Nothing is coming. Yay.
Tired of saying that.
But
Maybe we'll get something.
We'll see. Things change, and again, if we are in surge, and I think we are, because we're seeing definite increased number of sunspots,
Agreed.
we may see by the time that side turns our way, we may see something more exciting. But again, we'll know when it gets here.
That's right. And then, yeah, to Janelle's point, it is kind of a bummer that the favorable polarity for us for this time of year is locked in with the full moon cycle. You know, it is what it is. Who wants to go up to Fairbanks?
My advice to that.
That's all. I always just default to that. I'm like, oh, I just fly up to Fairbanks, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely had a good start of season, it looks like.
Yeah, they have.
And the same goes for Iceland.
Yeah.
They had a few nice shows, and people are complaining about clouds, but it's not cloudy everywhere. Surge period. Well, we really don't know how long the surges typically last, but usually it's a few rotations. So think about maybe a couple months. But if you remember October of last year, that was one of the surges. One of the surges. So it's about every 11 months, and it may last for a while. Again, because we're in descending phase already, the surges will not generate nearly as many CMEs, but it's definitely our better chance of getting something flying our way. May not be favorable as far as magnetic orientation of it, but it's better than sitting and just waiting.
Agreed.
And we have data to look at. Yay! Rather than absolutely barren solar disk.
Well, I mean, what was it? The video that we watched the other day about the Halloween storms, and that happened 3 years after.
Yeah. Big storms
Solar
can
Max.
happen.
But it's just they have to be aimed our direction. That's the kicker. So we can get these big.
Yeah, that's the hard part of looking at that statistic. It's like, yes, we've been lucky in that case, but that doesn't mean we're going to have these big events rise up and hit us. We could very well have nothing.
That one I was talking about in cycle 24 was like the same deal too. It was on the declining phase, but it was not aimed at us. It was already rotated off. But supposedly that was huge. Like that was a big CME. Like it would have been something really significant. But I forget exactly what the data that was. I have to go back and look. I want to say it was like 2012.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
And it was off to the side because it hit stereo wave flat in the
Yeah,
face.
and like we still got Aurora from it, even though it was
Yeah, we got a side hit
clearly
from that.
on like other side.
It was, I want to say, like 100 degrees
Yeah.
across from over the west limb at that point. But it was so fast, it stretched. I think there were studies done, and high energy protons were found on all parts of the entire
Which is wild.
circular area around the sun.
Yeah. that's pretty crazy. So that's why I can't totally say Cycle 24 was nothing, because it did have something kind of significant.
I mean, then it had the September 2017 event wasn't bad either as far as the coming down event. I think it was one of the bigger ones where we actually had G-force storming.
Yeah.
Granted, it was daytime during the U.S. time, of course.
You know, it's neither here nor there. Anyway, I think that's all we got for the day, unless we got anything else to add. But
I mean, I've been rambling since this thing started, so I can just keep going if you want.
That's all we ever do is ramble on here.
That's all I did.
Yeah. This is why we do this, just to sit here and ramble and chit chat and read the chat, see if anybody has anything to add. But Marco had some fun things to add today, so that was cool. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Marco. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and
We'll
thank you
definitely
for
be waiting.
Yes.
Well, so on that note, well, next week we have our guest speaker, which will be fun, because he's going to talk about the magnetosphere, which is even cooler. Like, may the surge be with us. Yes. May we get lots of space leeches from the surge. Yes.
Yeah, we could probably invent our own language from this at this point.
We could.
Yeah.
Gen Z has their own language.
Maybe ZB ever in your favor.
So, like, you know, Gen Z's got their stuff. We're going to have our space weather stuff. We're going to make things up. It'll be fun. So, anyway, on that note, we'll let you all have your evening back. Thanks for joining us a little bit later than usual, but we wanted
A
this
little bit
guy
longer than
here.
usual.
Yeah.
I like how
Well, we had two events to cover.
Yeah, so it was a little longer. Yeah, I'm glad people like the rambling, because it is very non-structured, but you know, much like the CME, it's just, you know, well structured, but it's all over the place. That's how we structure our talks here. They're all over the
Wait, we
place.
structure stuff here?
I mean,
outside
have
of the slide deck,
we have a general idea of structure, but we got the kinks and flow and bends all over the place.
That's all right.
I don't even know what's going on in solar weather at this point anymore until like an hour before we start streaming.
I know,
To be fair, it's not a lot to catch up on, but
but you do a good job with it because you're the math guy. That's why you're here. You talk vectors and things.
vectors and things. So I need to start mentioning them more then.
Yeah. All right.
Well, we need Sun to give us some vectors that are favorable so we can analyze them. For now, it's
We analyze the nothingness, but it's something. So, all right, we'll let you guys go. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Yay!
We'll talk about yeah. Well, it'll be a fun conversation next week because I think we'll all learn something. That's for sure. So, looking forward to it. Yay!
Yay!
All right.